We are now being joined by both Nadav Timur, who's a former Israeli diplomat and current executive director of J Street Israel, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Also being joined by Dan Perry, who's an international affairs expert, also joining us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you to the both of you so much for joining us here today on NewsX World. Nadav, if I could please come to you first for this one. With Hezbollah claiming multiple coordinated attacks involving rockets, artilleries and drones in a single day, are we witnessing a tactical escalation that could push the Israel-Lebanon border conflict into a wider regional confrontation? And how significant also is it that Hezbollah is increasing use of drones and these precision attacks against military vehicles and communication systems?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're witnessing the same situation in Lebanon that we're witnessing in Gaza and we're witnessing in Iran, which is that the illusions that those issues could be solved militarily are just a fantasy. The only way to really bring quiet to the Israelis on the north and to the Lebanese is to make a big effort to bring all the players that could really help empower the Lebanese government, especially the French and the Saudis, but also the Syrians who are very much against Hezbollah. We have a huge opportunity. We have a Lebanese government that understands that the Iranian influence is bad for Lebanon. They want to marginalize Hezbollah. They cannot do it on their own. They need help.
How do we stop this from escalating anymore?
I don't think we need to stop it from escalating. We need to figure out the best way to escalate it. Hezbollah needs to be eradicated. In the end, when you have people who are not radicals like myself and Nadav who look at this, it comes down to the framing and sometimes the positioning of what you say, but it amounts to the same thing. The entire planet wants Hezbollah to be gone. The Lebanese government wants Hezbollah to be gone. No semi-intelligent viewer would want Hezbollah to not be gone. No person in any country, whether it's France or Canada or India, would want a militia to be calling the shots in their country, not the national army, national government. The government of Lebanon wants Hezbollah gone. So the question is, what is the most effective means of escalating? There is a notion in the West, especially in the sort of leftist West, that you always want de-escalation. Really? I mean, I hate to invoke the Nazis, but do you want de-escalation against Hitler? The situation with Hezbollah needs a clever escalation. And the number of players that can do this is limited. Syria, potentially, but Lebanon is traumatized about the Syrian occupation that ended only about 2 decades ago. Israel? Well, I mean, Israel's the most motivated, to be sure. But it's not a great idea to have this be only Israel's problem. Lebanon, yeah, they should be sovereign, but they lack the power. So my preference has been for many months now, and I've written about this extensively, that Lebanon become one of those countries that explicitly asks for international assistance. And it probably shouldn't be Israel. Israel should collaborate when asked. Israel has a big stake in what happens, of course. But the number one stake is the Lebanese people and the Lebanese government. And they don't have the power to control Hezbollah, so they should ask for external assistance. And just as Nadav said, the French might want to help with their fabled Foreign Legion. The Saudis might want to help. And there's a huge role here for Gulf money that Lebanon needs and is essentially being held in escrow, tens and maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. That should be made clear to the Lebanese people if they should be confused about who they might support in this war against Hezbollah, that it's conditional on Hezbollah being gone. And Hezbollah, by the way, is currently encircled to a great degree. They once had a weapons superhighway through Syria coming through Iraq from Iran, and that's gone now because the Syrian government that prevailed over the Assad government that was supported by Hezbollah for all its murderousness is not in favor of Hezbollah. So they're cornered, they're surrounded, and they're isolated. And I think the world needs to figure out how to convert this into victory over Hezbollah. So I say yes to escalation, but it should be strategic and well thought out.
Of course, and also, Nadav, if I could please come back to you for this too. As Israeli airstrikes and Hezbollah attacks continue, civilians on both sides of the border are facing displacement and insecurity. Is the humanitarian dimension of this conflict receiving sufficient international attention, or is it being overshadowed by broader strategic concerns?
Absolutely not. I'm afraid that the Lebanese civilians and my family on the border of Lebanon, this is where I grew up, are suffering because, because Netanyahu doesn't really want to end this for his own political reasons. Trump has an attention span of I don't know what. Instead of focusing on something in a serious way, is moving from one theater to another. And instead of creating an effort like America used to do in the Balkans, in so many other places, to bring about what Dan just described, an international effort to help the Lebanese get rid from this Iranian proxy that is making the life of Lebanese and also of Israelis miserable. This is the only way to do it. And I have to say that I'm not that happy about the way my government deal with the people on the north, because my government, especially now that the elections are coming, they prefer to give money to all kind of other issues, ultra-Orthodox and settlements, instead of really helping the people on the north that needs the government's assistance.
Of course. And Dan, back to you, please. Given ongoing tensions involving Iran, Israel and armed groups across the region, could the current escalation in southern Lebanon reshape the broader Middle East security landscape in the coming months? And what risk should international community be most concerned about?
No, I don't think it can, honestly. What's going to shape the international landscape in coming months is what happens with Iran and in the Persian Gulf and in the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, which has turned the kinetic Iran war into an economic war, essentially, between Iran and the West, where the West is divided and confused and vulnerable because they have to take into account public opinion, which the Iranian regime, which is a criminal operation, does not. The Hezbollah situation is, however difficult it is for the Lebanese people and for the residents of northern Israel, is a bit of a sideshow in that regard. Now, of course, if Hezbollah escalated enough and started causing real damage in central Israel to the point where Israel sent in the entire army to occupy Lebanon, that would become a major international crisis. And I tend to agree with my friend Nadav's cynical sounding notion that Netanyahu wants somehow to continue the state of emergency vis-a-vis Lebanon because that somehow helps him politically. I'm sure a lot of people watching would think that that's just not reasonable. Like, who could possibly want such a thing? And there's no way a political leader could be thus. And the truth is that Netanyahu was about 15 to 20 points down in the polls. He faces elections very soon. He's on trial for bribery. And my own assessment is that there's almost nothing he wouldn't do to machinate a victory in the elections or to forestall the elections. So there is a concern in Israel that Israel is being led by a government that will introduce political calculations in a way that is reckless into this geopolitical emergency. So there's no good guys here. The question is, which are the worst guys? And the worst guys are Hezbollah. And the world, Lebanon, the region, and Israel need to be rid of Hezbollah. This has to be a sine qua non. So I would expect, for real, the European Union and NATO to get out of their own way and to be serious for once, and to make clear that if Israel avoids action that is unacceptable, they are willing to join Israel and the government of Lebanon in a common effort. That should include the Arab League, by the way, as well, and maybe Arab forces in an effort to get rid of Hezbollah. There has to be messaging by the entire planet And if at all possible, I'd try to rope China into this and India. I'm not hopeful about Russia. To make clear to Hezbollah that the game is up. Now, they're fanatics and they have economic interests. And they do have still some support among the Shiites of Lebanon, which are a plurality but not a majority of Lebanese. And so it's going to be tough, but I can't express enough how much of a precondition it is for Lebanon to have anything resembling a normal existence that Hezbollah be gone. And, sometimes in human history, there is a situation where international collaboration is needed, determination is needed, and a price must be paid, potentially. And you're right in suggesting that the Lebanon Hezbollah situation is somehow linked to the Iran Persian Gulf situation. What unites them in both cases is the captive populations of the countries in question. I'm talking about Lebanon on one hand and Iran on the other, where the forces that beset them and oppress them, Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic regime, are unpopular and are truly a criminal mafia. And the world has to decide whether they're going to acquiesce to these players or try to join the regional factors that include the government of Israel and the government of Lebanon and the Persian Gulf countries in being rid of what is fundamentally a mafia.
Of course. Dan and Nadav, thank you both so much for joining us here today.